Hello friends, this is Adam with Movie Guy 365, and in this video I'm going to list 10 movies that are on Netflix that I would love to see get a 4K Blu-ray. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like button, subscribe, hit that bell notification. You can also find me over Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Movie Guy 365. Okay, in this video, I'm going to list 10 movies that are only on Netflix that I would love to see get a physical 4K Blu-ray release. Now, as you know, Netflix is the top of the streaming game, and I have to admit, I have not been the biggest fan of their quantity over quality approach, but I do feel that over the last few years, there are some real gems that have come through from some really great filmmakers and actors and actresses. So there are at least 10 movies that I would like to see get physical releases. Now, it's not unheard of that a Netflix film that has only appeared on that streaming service has made the physical leap. It has to do with rights and contracts and such. So this, while this more or less is going to be a wish list that may never come true, I still hold out hope that some labels such as Criterion or even, Arrow Video or some other label will pick it up or has the rights. But yeah, I'm just going to list 10 that I think should definitely get a physical release. Before I begin, just a quick note, this will of course be my list, yours will be very different, but I encourage you to put in the comment section below your own personal picks. Alright, let's not waste any time, let's dive right into my number 10. Director Mike Flanagan, who you may know from The Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor, Midnight Mass, all excellent series, and Gerald's Game and Dr. Sleep, which I still feel is an underrated film. He put out a smaller movie which is only on Netflix as of right now, and that is Hush. It is creepy, it's atmospheric, and I think a physical release would make those black levels really deeper. You get a little bit lost when it comes to streaming, whether it's macro blocking or elevated black levels, but a solid 4K release I think would alleviate all those problems, and if you want to up the soundtrack, it would make that creepy atmosphere fill that whole room very well. It's a smaller movie, yes, but I think it deserves a place on physical media shelves, and I would love to see Hush one day get a 4K release. A movie appeared on Netflix last year, and I have to admit it was a lot of fun, and it just immediately made me think a physical copy would just elevate it a lot more. And that is The Adam Project, starring Ryan Reynolds. I am a fan of the movie. It's nothing too deep, but it does have some heart to it, and there are some great action scenes, and the sci-fi element I think really works. You get that Atmos soundtrack on a physical copy, it would just take things up to another level. I would really enjoy hearing that at home. And the look of the film also with the HDR and Dolby Vision I think would be enhanced that much further on a physical release. And like I said, it's nothing too deep, but it's a fun popcorn type of movie and I really enjoyed it. So I would love to see The Adam Project on a physical 4K release. Occasionally you get a Netflix film that has such a star-studded cast and actually a movie that is pretty well done and directed and written. And for me, Don't Look Up from director Adam McKay, I think really would just make for an excellent 4K release. It's not one of those films that would be a demo audio experience, but it's an enjoyable movie and I think it's quality filmmaking. Once again, a star-studded cast in this one. I mean, Meryl Streep, Leonardo DiCaprio, Cate Blanchett, Jennifer Lawrence. The cast in this is phenomenal, and I think they all do a really good job. This is one of those movies that I felt was something that could easily have been distributed by a major studio, but Netflix got a hold of it. And I don't know, I could see maybe Criterion or another label picking this one up as a physical release down the line. I'm hopeful it'll happen, but yeah, if you haven't seen it, I would definitely check out Don't Look Up. It's a really interesting satire, and I'm hoping one day we get a 4K. This next one, I went in completely blind. In fact, I didn't even know about the person that this movie was based on, and that is Tick, Tick, Boom, starring Andrew Garfield. As I mentioned, didn't know anything about Jonathan Larson, but I knew, of course, of Rent, and I was very interested in checking this out just based off the trailer, and it is a fantastic film. It's a biographical drama with a bit of comedy and some musical elements to it. And it made me very interested throughout. It kept my attention. And of course, you have Lin-Manuel Miranda doing the directing duties. I think he did a fantastic job in this one. And it's a film that just stayed with me. It really just, kind of inspired me creatively. Learning about the guy and what he did, throughout his life trying to get to that point where he created Rent. Yeah, it was just a fantastic film. It's a movie that I would love to see on my shelf. And I do recommend it. Even if you're not a fan of Rent or have ever heard of the guy, check it out. And I'm hoping one day we get a physical release. I am a huge fan of filmmaker David Fincher, and I was very surprised to hear one of his movies was over at Netflix exclusively, and that is Mank. I really enjoy films about classic Hollywood, you know, the down and dirty and even the less glamorous elements. And when you add Gary Oldman as Mank, wow, this movie is fantastic. I also see this as a prime candidate for the Criterion Collection. I'm hopeful one day that's going to happen, but it's a very enjoyable drama, and it has some wonderful performances. It's filmed entirely in black and white, and I just would love to see this one on my shelf because I think movies like this deserve a certain status, and, you know, I believe that Mank definitely fits that bill. And yeah, Netflix, it's on their service, but, you know, it's funny, when it came out, they didn't really do much advertising for it. It's just purely based off of word of mouth, and ultimately that's kind of what I feel that Netflix has like a problem with, is just advertising their great stuff. But Mank as a film, it's excellent, and David Fincher is on top of his game once again, so hopefully one day we'll see this one out on 4K. In 2022, we had two adaptations of Pinocchio, one from Disney, which had interesting results, and the other from director Guillermo del Toro in a stop-motion film, and ultimately I think you can guess which one is the more superior version. Del Toro as a filmmaker is one of my favorites. He's in my top 5, no doubt about it. He's put out some amazing films, but this one really, it has no bearing on what Disney did, both animated or in their recent remake. This is more true to the original story, and it is a great film. It is just an enjoyable piece of art. And it would just be a total shame just to leave this on a streaming service where eventually it's just going to get buried in time. Physical releases for this are very important, and Del Toro is such a filmmaker that I really think that a physical release just is warranted and deserved. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Del Toro's Pinocchio absolutely should be on my list. One of the more interesting stories that came out over the last few years was how director Rian Johnson's sequel to Knives Out would be exclusively headed over to Netflix. So Glass Onion, I would love to see get a physical 4K release. Now, Johnson himself has indicated, I believe in a tweet or something like that, that a physical release may happen. I don't know, once again, there has to be some contracts or hoops to jump through, but it would just be kind of odd not to have it next to the original film, which we all have on our shelves. So I'm hopeful that both Glass Onion and the upcoming third movie will eventually arrive to physical media. It would just be kind of a shame if it was just like you have to watch the first movie and then go over to Netflix for the sequels. I don't know, it's just something that I would love to see as a collector. But yes, Glass Onion has a great cast. Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc, fantastic. And I'm very hopeful we'll get a physical release sometime down the line. Another movie on Netflix that just recently came out and was also just announced as a Best Picture nominee for the Oscars, All Quiet on the Western Front, the remake, is absolutely something that I would love to see on a physical release. When it comes to war movies, just on their own, they make for great demo materials at home. But if you take out the whole Netflix streaming aspect, put it on a physical disc, and just crank it up, I think it would make for a demo-worthy experience. I am a fan of the movie. I just watched it a couple months ago, and I'm probably going to watch it again just before the Oscars air, but I really enjoyed this one. I think it deserves a physical release, and I would love to see it happen one day. I don't know who has the rights to this one or if it can happen, but All Quiet on the Western Front deserves a 4K release, and maybe one day we'll see it on our shelves. Of all the movies on my list, this one is the most bonkers, but I would love to see RRR or Triple R get a physical 4K release because, man, this one is nuts. I mean, this is one of those movies that is just pure enjoyment. It's got some great action scenes, and if you crank up an Atmos at home, this one will really just elevate that whole home theater experience. And there's great cinematography, and just the whole thing with HDR and Dolby Vision would just pop off the screen. It looks fine on Netflix and it sounds good, but that physical release, I think, would just elevate things to a whole other level. It is crazy. It's 3 hours of madness, and I would love to see this one on a 4K disc. Before I get to my top pick, just a couple of quick honorable mentions. And the thing with these honorable mentions is they did get a physical Blu Ray release from the Criterion Collection, but I would love to see 4K upgrades. So first up, Marriage Story. Yeah, this is not going to be a demo-worthy kind of a disc, and I understand that, but the best possible format I would really love to see with this movie, and I think it deserves it. It's a really hard-hitting drama. It stars Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson, so definitely check it out, and maybe one day we'll get a 4K upgrade. And Alfonso Cuarón's Roma, such a beautiful movie. It looks really good on the Criterion Blu-ray, but I would love to see the enhanced visuals with HDR and Dolby Vision on a physical 4K disc. I'm very hopeful this will happen one day. And last but certainly not least is director Martin Scorsese's The Irishman. I watch this one on Blu-ray from the Criterion Collection at least once a year. It's a great film. It's very long, but it's an epic story that only Scorsese could tell. And the Blu-ray release looks fine, but I could definitely see where an upgraded with Dolby Vision and HDR would really enhance things a lot. I'm hopeful that all three of these will get a 4K upgrade sometime down the line, so Criterion, let's make it happen. And for my top pick of Netflix movies that I would love to see get a physical 4K Blu-ray release, I'm going to give that one to The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. I am a huge fan of the Coen brothers, and sadly not many of their films have made it to 4K, but I would absolutely love to see this one on my shelf. This is also one of those that I could see definitely being handled by the Criterion Collection. Every month Criterion does a newsletter, and I always hope that to see The Ballad of Buster Scruggs on that list for the month. It hasn't happened yet. Occasionally you hear a rumor or rumbling that it will come out to physical media, but I just want to see this one as a collector of physical formats. This is absolutely a must-have. I enjoy the film a lot, and I really hope to one day see it on my shelf. So yeah, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs on 4K. Hopefully one day we will see it. So those are 10 movies from Netflix that I would love to see get a physical 4K Blu-ray release. Now it's your turn in the comments section below. Let me know what from Netflix you would love to see personally get a physical release. Let's talk about it in the comments. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. So until next time, this is Adam with Movie Guy 365. I will see you at the movies.